In this class, I want us to talk about citations. Okay, so when you're doing an academic paper, in most cases, you will be required to cite sources. These are basically ways of using scientific evidence to collaborate or support your conclusions. Okay, so that is very common in academic papers, and in most cases, the number of citations you need to have in an academic paper will be stated in the requirements, how many you need to have. Some instructions might only limit you to scholarly sources alone, which means you can only cite credible studies and credible sources, okay? But others, others will be open to any kind of useful information that you find that you can use to support your point, okay? So really, the number of references you need to have in any academic paper will be determined, by the instructions. But now the location of these citations within the paper, within the text, is now based upon certain things, and that's what I want us to look at today. Because it's not just about throwing in citations everywhere in the paper. Every sentence you feel like you want to cite, you cite. That is not the correct way to do things. There are a number of things that you need to focus on, to look at, then you decide this one deserved to be cited. Okay, deserves to be cited. So that even if the question, the instructor stated that they want you to have 5 sources, that basically means a minimum of 5 citations, okay? Because each source may be cited several times within the paper. Now, if the instructor is saying they want 5 sources, it is upon you to distribute them across the paper, and you don't just decide arbitrarily that naweka hapa, hii naweka hapa, hii naweka hapa. Kuna vitu fulani fulani nataka ni show zenye zina determine where you need to cite. So in any given paragraph or any given body of text, one of the things that determine how many citations you need to have ama where to place your citation ni look kama kuna any sentence within your paper that is providing something like factual information of data. Okay, so angalia sentences zako. Is there any sentence that is providing factual information? This may usually be numbers, population data, number of people, amount of money, some statistics. Just any factual information or data that you've provided may need to be cited. If you are talking about athlete salaries and you come across, you wanted to say that, athletes earn this amount of money per year, that is some sort of a factual information you're providing, okay? It's not debatable, it's something that is a fact. So obviously you need to cite that as well. If you are writing about populations of countries and then you wanted to say somewhere that Kenya's population is at 57 million, that is also an example of factual information that you also need to also cite, because somebody might be interested to learn more or just to see why this information is true. So obviously you need to include a citation at the end of that sentence containing factual information. Now, whenever you claim a causative relationship, like saying A is causing B. We've been working on the topic about athlete salaries as our starting point. Maybe you wanted to claim that injuries are associated with depression. Okay, so in this case, you're basically claiming that injuries cause depression. That is also a good opportunity for you to also include scientifically verified resources to also show that that relationship is actually factual, is actually true. Okay, because if you are claiming something is causing somebody something else, is there any scientific backing to this kind of relationship? Is there any study that was conducted that proved indeed injuries are associated with high levels of depression and anxiety? Okay, so whenever you have that kind of a sentence anywhere within your text, it is good that at the end or at the beginning you also provide some citations for that, because people might want to know, what, this looks like a very kind of important information that we may need to go and check if it's actually true. Again, if you just make an important claim, okay, a solid claim, anything, a very poignant point you're saying. For example, you're claiming Kenya is one of the richest countries in Africa. That is a very important claim you're making. It's an unusual claim. So obviously you need to also collaborate that with any data that has been done before to actually verify that that is actually true. Okay. So within your sentences, within your paragraphs, sentences, your body of text, look out for these kind of sentences. A sentence that makes a factual, presents factual information or data or statistics. That sentence is a good place for you to have a citation. If you have another sentence that is claiming a causative relationship, is saying that something is causing another, or something else happens because of something else. So that is kind of relationship where you're saying something causes another, or something leads to another situation. Therefore, that is also a good place for you to also integrate scientific evidence. Okay. Whenever you also make a very important claim within your paper, like you're claiming that this country is that, and this person is this person, this is one of the biggest companies in Kenya, this is one of the what, you also need to have studies that were conducted that actually verified that whatever you're saying is actually true. Okay. Now we also have other situations that may require you to cite. For instance, if you write if you are in the course of trying to explain something, you realize that you don't want to go into details about another topic, because if you do that, you may easily, jump off the track. For instance, let's say you are talking about how pollution, affects health. Maybe you are working on the topic that cities should ban cars, and one of the arguments is that cities should ban cars because having many cars within the cities are producing a lot of pollution, which eventually cause health problems. And you realize in the explanation between the connection between the pollution and the health, there's a lot of science, a lot of physiology trying to explain how the fumes that people breathe in, they go and then they clog the lungs. A lot of scientific explanation in there. And then you realize if you are to go into details and try to really explain how nitrogen can enter the lungs through the right ventricles, the vena cava, and then they finally end up to the lungs, and then they cause some kind of soot which now causes cancers. You don't want to go into those details because the paper is just about cities banning cars. So you feel like if you go to the extent of now explaining the detailed kind of way that pollution is causing health problems, you'd really take your readers off the grid. So in that case, you can just state that statement, just infer to that kind of relationship between pollution and health problems, and maybe I give an example of health problems, and then you can now provide a citation, a reference there, so that anybody who wants to go and learn more about that physiological process of pollution causing diseases, they can easily go and read. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. Let's say you're working on topic A, but part of topic A, you have some points that can easily be, if you're not careful, and if you get too excited in explaining some of the points, you might easily find yourself, navigating away from the topic. So instead of doing that, going to the details of a very different topic, you just provide a reference so that if there's anybody amongst your readers who wants to go and learn more about that topic B, they can easily refer to the reference you've made within the paper. Okay, so that is also another opportunity for you to cite. When honestly, you have paraphrased somebody's work, when you know for a fact that indeed this wasn't my original idea, I read somebody's document and then I paraphrased. That is also a good place for you to give credit by just making reference to that individual. Okay, but now this one is very used. Cite this kind of sentences very carefully, because in most cases you might have paraphrased an unscholarly source, okay, a blog, for instance, and the question is demanding that you don't cite blogs. So even if you paraphrase a blog, you may need not to cite that individual, because if you cite that individual, you will be doing something that the question does not want you to do. The instructions have stated that you only need to consider to cite scientific sources. So in that case, you might paraphrase, yes, but avoid citing, because if you cite, you'll be citing that blogger, and that blogger is not a scientist, so obviously you'll be committing, a mistake, so to speak. Okay. So those are some of the situations that call for citations, and I've decided to talk about this because in most cases I see writers, they just throw in citations everywhere, even in a sentence that does not deserve to be cited. Yeah, ameweka citation. Alafu funny thing ni a sentence that iko na factual information, hiyo ndo haja cite. Mali ameclaim Kenya iko na watu milioni 57, hiyo sentence ndio haja cite. But ingine tu ya adjoining sentence. We have linking sentences. Hizo linking sentences ndiye ameamua kucite. I make sense, okay? So nimeamua nifunzenge hii part, and I also want to upload it on my channel so that at least when you are citing, when you're deciding where to cite, you actually know what you're supposed to do, because it's not just a matter of throwing in citations kila mahali within the paper. It's about looking for sentences that actually deserve to be cited. Information within your text that demand citation, because people might want to go and verify, people may want to go and learn more about that aspect, or people may just want to see that you're actually honest, that this idea wasn't yours, so you've cited the person mwenye alikuwa amepatia the original idea, okay? So it's not a matter of just throwing in citations everywhere. Mtu anaandika sentence, paragraph, unapata citations ziko kila mahali, even in the opening sentence, which we say the opening sentence of a paragraph, usually the thesis sentence or topic sentence, it doesn't need to have any citations. Mwingine amethrow pale kwa the last sentence, which is just a concluding sentence that we said should not be having any citations. Wamethrow in everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. It is wrong to do that. Now, if we go back to what we were doing, the paragraph we were doing, as an example, okay, we can try to locate situations within that that might usually demand a citation, okay? So we can go back and try to look at the paragraph we had constructed yesterday. And again, it is not common to have citations within the introduction. However, when you make a claim such as 35 million every week, this is a good sentence to have a citation, because it's providing specific kind of information. It's factual, okay? So you also need to to cite this, okay? So if you look at this paragraph, a sentence like this may not need to be cited. It is just a linking sentence, okay? Maybe this one, which are providing some of the specific activities within a sport, may need to be cited. This one, okay? This one is supposed to be cited because you can see it is claiming injuries are expensive and can cause careers to end. So it's claiming a causative relationship and making again an important claim that injuries are expensive. Okay, but this one, it's an example, yes, but it contains some factual data here, 1 million. So this one may need to be cited. Okay. But this one, if it is public information, like if it's widely known that Brian Aswan was injured at a certain age, you may need not to cite this one. If it's just public information that anybody can find on the internet, no need to cite that. Okay. This one, you may not need to cite this because, it doesn't really fall under the categories of things we need to cite. It's just an explanation, it's just a linking sentence, okay? And all these ones need not to be cited, okay? But so we find somebody make a citation at the end of this sentence, but here you may provide hii information important, haja cite. Okay? Hii nimepeana hiyo $1 million, haja cite hiyo. Okay? So it's very important that you know how to distribute your citations, where citations are actually required in a paper. So it's not about just kuweka tu mahali unajisikia. It's about picking out which sentences contain information that may demand, some reference made, okay, to a scientific study. Okay, so I think that is all for that class. I don't have anything else, so I'll leave you to ask me questions later about this.